Welcome to Dissecting Tyrone, the podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Brandon.
And today we're going to talk about providing and protecting.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, Brandon, for me, I wanted to talk about this subject because I see so much on social media, just the whole argument between men and women of I want a provider, I want a man that can protect me. Do we go 50-50? Does being a provider mean that he covers everything? So let's start off by our definitions. What does being a provider and a protector mean to you?
I think first and foremost for me, if I'm going to look at it from me protecting women in general, I think what men do naturally is going to protect women. And what does that look like? Something as simple as holding the door open for a woman that you may be dealing with or you may not be dealing with, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, cousins, daughters, whomever, showing them that this is a gesture of just me, an extension of me being kind. I also think just protecting women in general, because if we're out and about and we see a situation getting heated, a lot of men may step up and say, hey, you know what? Hey, you may want to get out the way of that because this situation is going to get real intense, real bad, and you shouldn't be near it. Now, you may have that ride or die with you who may be like, hey, if we go to war, we're going to go to war. But I think overall, you should always look out for the protection of the woman in general. What it looks like for me in a relationship is going to be a little bit different. So first and foremost, I think you have to have that mutual respect. If the mutual respect is not there on either side, it's going to be kind of hard to develop that provide and protect mentality, because if she ultimately doesn't value what you have going on, it's going to be very difficult for that man to come around and really truly care and give what he can give to her. So I think it starts from there. And then once that is developed and that wall is broken down, I think I look at it from a couple of different perspectives. From a mind perspective, I want to be able to protect her mind. I want to be able to add value to her life. Outside of that, you also have to protect her from a physical perspective. So if somebody is trying to harm her situation, whatever, as a man, you're going to step in and you're going to do the necessary things that you need to do to protect her, provide for her. And then obviously the elephant in the room is going to be from a financial perspective. You make sure that your stuff is in order. You don't want a gold digger. You don't want somebody to take advantage of you. But at the same time, I mean, if you're out, you're courting your woman or courting your wife, you're going to have to spend some bread sometimes to do certain things, like if going on a vacation, or it could be as simple as just going to a movie or getting out your norm. So she has that level of being provided for and protection anywhere that she goes, and she's going to feel confident. And together, you guys come together, you're going to basically have a better relationship because you have an understanding of each other of what that looks like.
I can agree with that for sure. And to me, providing and protecting, for one, they go hand in hand together, which I think you alluded to. But also, like, to me, providing is more than just financial. It's about providing. I think at the end of the day, women want to just feel safe. They want to feel safe physically as far as being protected. They want to feel safe financially, knowing that they're not going to be homeless out on the streets, that you got their back. And they just want to feel like they can trust you to lead and provide and protect and do all those things. So to me, providing isn't just financially, it's also about providing her a peace of mind, knowing that you're not out here cheating or running wild or her name isn't bad in the streets because, you keep her at ease because you're not out here doing those things. There's a big umbrella that everything falls under. Let me ask you this. I know this has been a hot topic lately, but 50-50 or the man takes care of everything. Like, what do you think is a better way?
For me, I think when we're talking about finances, I think it depends on where you're at in life. For me, I know I'm established. I know I take care of business. I'm going to do my thing regardless if a female is in my life or not in my life. I look at it from the standpoint of a female coming into my life, adding value. So if she's a professional woman and she has her own money, I think it would be that back and forth banter. I mean, if we decided to cohabitate and ultimately get into a serious relationship, move in together, that's a talk that you're going to have. But I think it should be equally, like, you take her out, you doing whatever you're doing, little gifts here and there. It should be reciprocated. I mean, and also depending on what your guys' love language is, she may be that person that wants to give. She's a giver, and you allow that because that fulfills what she has going on. And naturally, I think a guy he's going to give something because that's what we've been, I guess, that's ingrained in our brains from the beginning. So we're always going to have that providing aspect. We're going to try to make sure everything is taken care of the best that we can, and you just work through it from there. Now, gold diggers, that's something completely different. You got guys that do it, you got females that do it. So if somebody's taking advantage of you, then you have to realize, hey, you're taking advantage of me. You call them out if it's somebody that you really care about, or if you don't really care about them, I mean, you got to let them off, cut them off, and keep it moving. So I think you have to find balance. That's what it boils down to from a financial perspective. Sometimes she may have to take care of the brunt of whatever. Sometimes you do. And then sometimes you guys are able to equally share that. But it all depends on whatever your financial situation is on both aspects.
I agree. And see, I've been married twice. And I've done it both ways. In my first marriage, we did everything together. All our money was together, same accounts. Everything came out the same account. In my second marriage, we tried that, but it didn't work too well because one party, would spend money. And I'll say this, that second party was great with finances. She was phenomenal with finances. The issue for me is that it would be if she went and spent $300 on something, I had no problem with it. I didn't care. As long as the bills were paid, money in the account, which there always was. She was great with money. But for her, that was okay. If me and you went out to eat at Burger King, I'd get a phone call and it'd be like, did you spend $10 today? And I was like, yeah, me and Brandon went out to eat. We had some Burger King. You couldn't eat at home? And I'm like, I'm not about to go through this. So we had separate accounts and kind of did things 50-50. We split the bills. We split things. She would take care of some stuff. I'd take care of some stuff. And that worked for us. So I think ultimately it's about each individual couple having that conversation and deciding what works best for them. Personally, I prefer an all-in system. I really do. I believe you got to put something with something to have something, especially in today's society. Cars are expensive, homes are expensive. Everybody wants to travel and live this lavish life, and you have to have two incomes in today's society to do that. So for me, if we're dating, of course our money's not together, but once we get into a serious commitment, we live together or we're married, I prefer it to where it's all in one pot. I like to say, if she has $1 million and I have one, we have $1,000,001. If I have $1 million and she has one, we have $1 million in one. As long as we're both bringing our best to the table, that we're both bringing as much as we can, one's not leeching off or living off the other one, then I'm perfectly fine with that.
I think what needs to happen in a serious relationship, or if you think it's going a certain way, or even if you're married, financial literacy. I don't think we talk enough about that. So one person may have the financial literacy that they're responsible. They know exactly what to do because that's what they've been doing. The other person, not so much, but you have to work together to say, hey, I've noticed that you may not manage money well. Well, how about we take a money management course together? Let's get the kids involved. If you guys have children together, or whomever's living in the household. So it's a family thing. And there are goals and steps that you have to get through, and then to gain that understanding. Now, somebody still may have the upper hand and they're a lot stronger, but the other person needs to understand, like, hey, you get this paycheck, we got to take care of business. And then what ends up happening is jealousy in between the two. Maybe the one person who's a great money manager is good. They're taking care of business, but then the other person is like, well, I worked hard for this and I want to do this, but then I also want to go. I'm looking at the couple over here and they going out of town, they doing this or they doing this and that. So now you're comparing your life, and it's like, hold up, we got to live within inside of our means. If this is something that we want to strive for, let's stack our bread. Let's make sure home is taken care of first, and then we'll go from there. We just have to be patient. A lot of times people don't have that patience. And then you look at it from the standpoint of savings, you shouldn't have. If you guys have been together for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and nobody's saving anything and it's just money in, money out, then again, you guys got to have that conversation, because I think finances is definitely one of the leading causes to a lot of divorces or unhappy relationships, and only one person sometimes only sees that.
Yeah, see, I'll be honest. This is where I meet a lot of women that are like, you sound so perfect. And I'm like, what are your flaws? I'm like, I'll tell you my flaw. I'm bad with money. And I hate admitting that. I've actually went to buddies. I think I've talked to you once about, sitting down with me one day and just kind of help me figure it out, because I never cared about money. Money has never been the source of my happiness. So which I need to care about money a little bit more. But I'm the type, if like my ex, when we were married, if she said, man, I want that $1,000 purse, she's frugal. She was not going to buy that purse, even whether we had the money or not. I'm like, get the dang purse. Like, yeah. And then she like, I'm not going to spend that money. I'm coming home with that purse for her. Because I guess in my mind, I always wanted my family and my children to feel like, you know, like they didn't want for anything. You know, I know I couldn't provide just every single desire, but I wanted to provide enough of those things to where it was like, you know, they got a good life and, you know, we work hard. We deserve some gifts and things. And I just always got to worry. I got to focus more on pulling back, putting a little more in savings and doing things like that. So that was always my struggle when it came to finances, is that I'm a great provider. Like, I make the money. I have, you know, no issue making money. I've never not worked. I've always had multiple jobs, as a matter of fact. But I also am a consumer. So if we're in a committed relationship, now where I come from, I know they like to say nowadays, it ain't tricking if you got it. Where I come from, it was tricking.
Right.
So
no matter which way you look at it.
I'm not tricking. So I don't want to just be like, I'm giving gifts and doing this. Like, I don't do that. But if I want to do something nice for my lady, I do it. And I got to be a little better, like you say, be more patient and pull back in those situations.
And that comes with just balance, the patience, being disciplined. I think over time it happens. So you and I share the same similarities where coming up, we may not have had some of our friends had the latest Jordans, or they had this, they had that. Like, man, that looks good. And I've been working since I was 12. I'm pretty sure.
Definitely.
Same thing with you. So
Definitely.
I've always had a grind, a hustle, something going on legally. But I've always done this because it's like, man, I want to get this, I want to get that. But it also goes back to my mom. My mom was, when it comes to finances, she was strict. Budget. She taught me at a young age about how to budget, how to make sure that your money stretches. I can keep $100 for, man, 2-3 months in the same spot, and it's just like not even touch it, because
not me.
because it's in my soul. But for somebody who doesn't have that, and I want my son, man, he wants for nothing. I mean, he has everything that he needs to be successful and some. But what I needed to do was, it was like, okay, it came a point where I had to pull back. Recently, we're talking within the last 6 months, because I'm saying, his foot's growing like crazy. He's growing like a weed. I'm spending X amount of dollars on shoes, clothes for him. And then the crazy thing is, I'll get him some nice jeans, or his mama get him some nice jeans. I don't really like wearing jeans. So I'm like, what are we spending this bread on? So again, it goes back to having the balance, having the discipline. And it's like, okay, now you're going to earn everything. So when you bringing home straight A's, or mostly straight A's and some B's here, you're going to get a payout. If you're taking care of your chores at home and your attitude is good, you're going to get a payout. Now, I'm not going to physically buy it. This money is transitioning over to you because you've earned it. So now you go out and you buy it. And it was funny. He bought, I think, like an airsoft gun, spent all his bread up. And he started realizing, he was looking at his little bank account, was like, dang, I only got like $10 left. It's like, okay, next time you got to manage your money better. So now teaching him to scale back and get things when you want it, and then still have some bread to, you know what I'm saying, at the end, that's how you need to do it.
But see, my mom was great money too, and she didn't teach me that. So I did make it a point to teach that to my children. Like, I do a lot of those same things with my kids. And to be honest, I have my children, the youngest, Jade, she's 9. She got a couple $100 saved that she saved on her own. The rest of the kids, they got a couple $1,000s each saved up, because I've taught them how to save. But they still end up making me pay for everything. So I got to make them pay for more things. Let me ask you this, getting back to providing. Where do you think the line is when it comes from providing and being a quote unquote trick? Like having a gold digger. Like, what's the difference of taking care of your woman and having somebody that's taking advantage of that?
I think you have to, sometimes you get sclotoma. It's like a blind spot. And you have to, if you're in a dating game or if you're in your marriage, there are certain things and attributes that you're going to have to look at and say, okay, I'm doing this out the kindness of my heart, and I know my budget is $100, and I'm kind of going through this $100, and she knows that my budget is $100, and now she's overstepping her boundaries. So whether you're dating or whether it's a spouse, you have to look at the signs, you have to recognize it, and then you have to take heed. Like, if you're not doing something, saying something like, hey, babe, man, I only got $100 this month, and I know you want to do X, Y, Z. We did this last week. Can we chill this week until maybe I get paid, or we figure out something to do that is cost effective? Maybe we go down to the Joslin Art Museum, or we go somewhere where it's a couple dollars to get in and we can go enjoy some art or just look around or go do something outside now that it's getting warm. And now if you are dating multiple women and you just out here and you're just like, oh, well, I got to spend this type of bread to do this or put on this persona, then more than likely you head more towards the trick aspect of the game and versus you being you. Sometimes people, they love doing it because they lack some type of substance inside. Maybe they're not charismatic, or they don't have a certain personality that they want, so they'll try to throw money at the situation, and that's the bad thing to do. You can't throw money at it, because if the money dry up or it's not there, then more than likely she's going to go somewhere else and go get it. So you have to set that tone early, because if you don't, it's going to blow up in your face.
I agree, and I also think it's about intention. You know, I'm big on intention. I feel like if a woman's intent is to have you take care of her, then that's a gold digger. If her intent is to have a man that just supports her and and you know, provides, and not necessarily in a taking care kind of way, like basically like she can do it herself, but he's there to support her and have her back, then I think that's more of providing. So again, I think it really goes back to the intention. I will say this though. You said if it's your wife. If it's your wife and you still have no sound conversations, you picked the wrong wife. Like those things should be handled before you even get to that level, that right. stage. And I think most men can kind of tell a gold digger when he meets one, because usually, you know, you'll meet a girl, it'll be day 2 you're talking to her, and she's like, I'm just sitting here having a bad day. Well, why are you having a bad day, girl? I got this disconnection notice. I'm like, it's day 2. You can't be telling me about no disconnection notice on day 2.
Talk about some cash at me extra.
Man,
okay.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. If you're telling me about your disconnection notice on day 2, you are not in a position to be out here dating.
Right.
Male or female.
Right.
You know, so for me, gold digging is really about the intent, and I think most men can kind of tell when they're being used. It's just sometimes men want that prize, and so they don't mind it. I mind it.
You got to look for the signs. If you're not, like I said, if you're not looking for signs and you don't want to look for signs, then you're going to get taken advantage of. And the crazy thing in this society, in this modern era, people will look and say, well, I'll spend this type of bread to have this persona. And what it boils down to is the Facebooks, the Instagram, social media. You got to look a certain way. You got to have a certain part, and people get caught up in that. Once you get caught up in it, it's like it's a spiral. Until you put your foot down or you have an intervention, it's going to continue to spiral, because why not take that money? I would rather have a female come up to me and say, hey, you good on your end, I'm good on my end. How about if we're getting serious, why don't we invest in something that both of us can get some bread off of, or so, like that right there? For me, I'm looking like that's the type of stuff you want, let's go. Versus me, and then from there, you guys can take proceeds from there, go take a trip, or maybe you want to invest in another property. Maybe you want to do something different. So it also depends on how your mindset is set up. If you're acting like a child in your mindset, then you're going to get kid results. So sometimes you may have to remove yourself from the game to understand yourself, to understand what you want in a woman. And if finances is big, then again, like I mentioned earlier, go take you a couple courses. If you have issues with financial literacy or anything like that, go take some courses so you know what you want. If your stuff is in order, and then that's one of the things that's on your list when you're going to look for, or you're courting a woman, you talk about it on day 1. Like, hey, how does this look? And not basically, well, how much is in your bank account? You can ask like, hey, how are you managing money? How is this? How is that? She could be a 10 on the Richter scale, but if she's looking to get into your pockets, all that's out the window.
No, I agree with that for sure. Also, I will say this. For me, there's a big distinction between dating a girlfriend, a serious committed relationship, and a marriage. So like a girlfriend or somebody I'm dating, I'll try to look out for her. You know, like if there's something going on, an emergency comes up, something like that, I'll definitely try to look out for her. I'm not providing for her, because we're not at that level yet to where, I mean, I'm always protect. Like you said, you do that just innate, just protect women or children or whatever around you. But as far as providing to where, like, I'm paying bills and I'm doing this, I do that for serious committed relationships that we live together, or my wife, people where we maintain a household together. I will provide in those situations. Outside of that situation, if you're my woman, we rock together, you rocking with me, I'm going to look out for you. Like I hope you look out for me, but I'm not necessarily providing for you yet.
Right. I would agree. It's levels to it. Like they said, it's levels to this, you know what?
Right.
But yeah, it's levels to it because, again, if you're just dating someone and it's within the, I don't know, 0 to maybe even a year, you're still trying to get to know this person. You're trying to see, hey, do I like you? Is this what this is? Yeah, you're going to spend some money here or there depending on kind of seeing what she likes. It may be something as simple as a hobby that she has. It may cost $20 every time she does this hobby. I mean, that's pretty nominal considering like what a lot of people's like, well, if I'm not getting $1,000 on the first date or 10 bouquet of flowers and all this other stuff. So I think you're going to spend some money. She may return the favor with something else, or it's not even always about money. If you're talented with your hands, maybe you make something for her. Maybe you do something that is a kind gesture that she still would like, and you move accordingly. And then when you get into that more serious phase, then you start having these conversations. Okay, now what does your credit score look like? Because she may be talking about, well, if we move in together, why don't we go get a house? Okay, what does your credit look like? Or what does this look like? Well, do you have any savings saved up? Well, no, I don't have any Okay, well, in order for us to do X, this is what we need to do. Working together. Both people got to have skin in the game, because if it's only on one person, at the end, it's all going to be on that one person. Right. So, and then obviously when you're married, hopefully you vetted, gone through these things, and then by the time you're married, y'all on the same sheet of music and you guys have a common goal. I think with me, you know what I'm saying, just being in relationship, not having the knowledge, sometimes you got to go through things to get on the other side and figure out, okay, this is what this is. But like in my situation in the past, I was just like, yo, I'm gonna break bread with, okay, this is an issue. It may suck, but I'm gonna take care of it. But if it's not being reciprocated, then the man or the female, whomever, they're gonna start feeling some type of way, like, yo, I feel like I'm being used, and it's just like, and then that's when resentment builds up. Somebody may verbalize it, somebody may hold that in, and if they hold it in, at some point it's gonna blow up. So to avoid all of that, communication, honesty, being disciplined in your finances, being disciplined in your mindset, and then that's how you move accordingly.
No, I agree with all of that. And let me put this out here too. I want to give a little, I don't want to say cheat code, but just a little advice to the men out here listening. A woman that rock with you is going to go to the park with you. She's going to go to Cheesecake Factory with you. She's going to do those things. If a woman starts off with, we're not going on a date unless we go to this 5-star restaurant or this big. If she start off like that, I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke, you know. That might be something you want to keep your eye out on, because, you know, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be treated well, but if she has an expectation of this princess treatment or being treated like an Instagram model or things like that, then she may not be the person you want to break some bread on.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, even if you have the money, if you have this 6-figure job, and just because, let me get something straight, just because you have a 6-figure job doesn't necessarily mean you have 6 figures in the bank. But if you are financially sound and stable, if you have it, you going on a date, you're meeting these women, like, you need to strip everything, all of that money out, put it to the side. And same thing with her. You guys are trying to get to know each other and see where this potentially can go. Like you said, go to the park, go to a coffee shop, go to a decent dinner somewhere where you know it may be $75 for both of y'all, max. That's with like drinks, food, everything included. Try to catch a vibe. And like you said, if a female is into you, you can go anywhere. Y'all can go to the moon and y'all good. But if she's not into you, then pick up on those signs early. And guess, this is the thing. She could be the girl of your dreams. And you could be like, oh man, she's so fine. She's a dime. She a 10, all this other stuff. But if you start seeing these signs, recognize it, pull back, because it's only going to magnify if you get lucky enough, or what you perceive lucky. Oh, I got her. I got her. Now you bragging to all your boys, and she got your mind, and she also got your wallet. And before you know it, you going to be on some, hold up. Is this a transaction, or is this something that we trying to get to know each other? You don't want to if you want a transaction, go down to Tijuana, do your thing, and you good.
hey, no lie. And let me say something too to the women. My mom always told me if somebody's giving you something, there's usually an expectation attached to that. And women, they don't want to be treated as objects, but the women that are taking this money, they can't be mad when a man treats them like something he bought.
Right.
Because he paid his money for that. Like, he gave you that money with an expectation. So if you don't want nothing from him, don't give him nothing as far as, your goodies, and don't take nothing from him. Like,
right.
Like you said, once you make it a transaction, then both parties have an expectation.
Right.
Now let's get to protecting real quick. I'll start off by saying this. I think women have to understand that men view protection differently. Like, a lot of times a woman would be like a man to see his woman, let's say she put on the small shorts that got half her butt cheeks out and the shirt with her breast showing, and a man be like, baby, don't wear that. And it automatically turns into, oh, you're trying to be controlling, or you're jealous, or you're insecure. But what they don't realize is, for a lot of men, that falls up under protection. Because I know when you go out there like that, I know you fine, right? Because I don't mess with nobody unless I feel like they fine.
Right.
So I know you fine. And when you go out here, I know there's going to be men that's going to test that. There's going to be men that's going to make comments. There's going to be men, when I lived in Dallas, man, they'll grab your girl while you got the other side of her hand. And that literally happened. I remember being with a buddy. We all went to lunch. His girlfriend met us there, and he went walking around with her. Me and the homies turned the corner, and we hear him yelling. We run down there. We all about to start fighting because some dude walked up to his girl on the other side, grabbed her other hand, and was like, what's up with you? And now he ain't no punk, so he ready to throw down. So it's about to go down. But the point I'm making is, we know that there are certain men out there that's going to test it. And now I have to step up and be put in a situation to protect you when it was unnecessary if you would have just listened in the first place. So I just want women to understand that, sometimes, and you got to know your man. If your man is jealous or insecure or whatever, but you got to know your man. If you have a good man that's not that way, and he's like, baby, don't put that on. Sometimes take heed to his wisdom and understand that's a part of his protection.
Right. No, I would agree. I mean, as far as first and foremost, I think you need to understand and know the woman that you're dealing with. If you know a woman's going to do something or feel like she feels liberated and to go out of the house half naked, and you guys are in a serious relationship, in my mind, I would be looking at it as if you're looking for attention. And you're going to get the attention that you want, whether that's attention from other men or the attention of your man, hopefully kindly checking you and saying, hey, this ain't it. And then back and forth, and you just like, all right, you know what? Is the juice worth the squeeze on her going out of the house and me constantly having to look behind my back? And even a secure man, a very secure man, sees his woman going out the house with some houseware and half naked, that's going to cause some type of friction in the relationship, because on the flip side, that would be the equivalent of you going out, you out with your lady, and it's a group of women, and they eyeballing you. They could care less about her because they just trying to get on for the night.
Because you got on them gray sweatpants.
Because you got on the gray sweatpants, and you say, hey, babe, just sit tight. Let me go over here and holler at them real quick. She going to be like, what you mean you going to holler at them real quick? So put yourself in his shoes in reverse, because, again, you are going to start unnecessary trouble that doesn't even need to happen. A lot of people, man, they've lost their lives over just women unfortunately being vindictive and saying, hey, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm going to do what I want to do. Next thing you know, it's a group of guys, and they end up maybe killing this guy, or something ends up happening to him. And it's
escalates.
Like, yeah, I'm like, why do we have to get it to this point? And you should want to respect yourself. It's fine. If you got curves and you got a nice body, whatever you wear, naturally is going to show it off. But I think when you get into the point of having to exploit yourself outside of the home, and some women may not look at it as exploitation, but when you have to do that, you're wanting attention. Something is wrong, and you're not getting what you need at home. So now you think you're going to get it somewhere else. But if it comes to that point, you may have to have a serious conversation to say, hey, is this relationship really worth it?
No, I agree. And I think overall what we're saying to the ladies is, don't date a man or be in a serious committed relationship with a man that you don't trust. Because if you trust him, then you should trust his judgment. You should trust the fact that you know that, hey, he's not being controlling. There's something he might see that I don't see. I remember dating a woman to where we would be out in public, and I would say, hey, you know, you get on the inside, or, you know, let's get to this door pretty quick. And it'd be like, why? What's going on? And I'm like, you're going to be shot by the time, you know, you got to learn to listen sometimes. You can't stop and just question every single thing. And I know women, there's a lot of men out there that's controlling, so women are afraid of being controlled. You know, just like we're afraid of gold diggers, they're afraid of men that are controlling or abusive. I get that 100%. But if you feel like the man that you're messing with has those type of qualities, then you need to cut that in the beginning and not mess with him. Once you become in a marriage or a committed relationship, then that trust should already be established. So if I'm saying, hey, babe, get down, you're not wondering, well, why should I get down? What's going on? No, you know, if my man told me to get down, like, I trust him, and you get down. I think there's so many women out there that are with men that they don't trust, that when a man is trying to be a protector, she makes it difficult for him.
That's true. I'll piggyback off of that. So I know me being in the military, in the Marine Corps, having that background, certain things I can turn on, certain things I can't turn off. And I think just from protection in the protection perspective in general, like it's hard for me to turn it off. Like I can dumb it down just a little bit. For example, I could take a nice young lady out and we're maybe out at a restaurant. For whatever reason, man, I have to sit facing the door just because if I see something that may be popping off or about to happen, I got to act quick. And I don't want my back being to the door. She may not be paying attention and something pops off and something happens. So I'm always, anywhere that I go, I'm very observant. I may look at certain things and they're like, what the heck are you looking at? But it's just that protection aspect. And it's crazy because if I'm with my son, if I'm with a girl that I'm dating, whomever, it's just something that's in me. I'm always looking for an avenue for protection or an escape route in case something goes off or pops off.
Man, I've been putting these posts up on Facebook, and people have been laughing at me because I talk about my John Wick fantasies and my Equalizer fantasies. And I'm like, it's not a fantasy. But what it is when we go in that restaurant, same thing. I don't want my back to the door. I want to be able to see the crowd. And when I sit down, I've already thought through 50 scenarios on what if a guy comes through here, I'm going to take this plate, I'm going to throw the plate, I'm going to kick him in the leg. And then I always keep that blicky on me. So I'm pulling the blicky out. You know, whatever the case is, I don't work through 50 scenarios. And that's why I said for me, it's important to have a woman that trusts me enough to just do. You know, not sit there and question. Now, I'm not saying that she can't say, I'm not saying don't question your man. I'm saying know when to question. Like if I'm like, babe, get down. Ask me later, like, hey, you know, why? You may find out before then, oh, that's why. Somebody came in here, you know, trying to rob the place, or whatever the case is. But it's important to me to have somebody that trusts me and trusts my decision-making, they trust my ability to protect them so that they know when I say, babe, don't wear that. That's the same thing as, babe, get down. You know, this man ain't controlling. This man loves me. And in a situation like that, it's like, babe, don't wear that. Then that's a conversation we can have. Like, well, why not? And I can say, well, I feel like it's going to draw this type of attention or whatever. And again, if she has these curves and all that stuff, I get the fact that she can't hide it. So there's always going to be men out there that's going to do things and say things or whatever. But it's about giving yourself the best opportunity to not be in those situations.
So lastly on that topic, I'll say it still boils down to communication. So if you could communicate this early, so as you're vetting this young lady to maybe potentially be somebody who you may get serious with or ultimately marry, that those conversations need to be had. Like, hey, from a protection perspective, what does protection look like for you coming from me? And then you say, hey, okay, well, this is what it looks like for me. And then you bring up these facts like, hey, when we're out and about, I move a little different than maybe the normal person that you've been dating before. And it's not that I'm going to be controlling. It's just I want to make sure that we make it home safe. In any scenario, it may be as simple as a date night, taking her to the gun range if she's scared of guns, and properly teaching her how, hey, this is what this is. Start her off small, gradually. And so she gets more comfortable, more familiar with it. So then before you know it, she may pull out the blicky before you do, just because you've been training her to do that. Or she already may have that insight. Her dad may have taught her uncles may have taught her. So having that conversation from a protection perspective would be big early on, so it doesn't blow up in your face towards the end or when things get hot.
Well, and let me say this, because you just made it pop in my head. Another play I'm going to give away to the fellas out there. Lunch in the gun range. That is a date of all dates. Most women love going to the gun range, love shooting. I just actually had a friend. I thought we were just friends going out to hang out. I guess it was a date because she was like, "You said it wasn't a date." So it was a date, and then we had a great time. We had a phenomenal time, actually. I had a really good time. And I even told her, I said, "Girl, you just gave me a new play." This before I found out it was a date. I said, "You just gave me a new play. Like, the gun range is a place to take a date." So, fellas, on a side note, that's a great play. Go to the gun range, go to lunch, great opportunity for a date, fun. And you can also have that conversation about, since we're here, what does it look like? I wouldn't have it at the gun range, maybe at lunch when you leave. But, what's protection look like to you, And so I think that's a great point that you made there.
Right.
So also, for me, I do want to point out that I know we talked a lot about, what protection looks like to men. Have you ever had any situations to where you had to protect a woman and things didn't go so well?
I don't think so. Even in the club era, like when I was in the club in my early late teens, early 20s, I mean, I really didn't. I think for the most part, if I came across a woman, if I was out with a woman, I've always had decent encounters. I really didn't have guys coming up trying to be macho and all this other stuff. Now, when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, with no girls in the way, it was just the testosterone flowing, and that's something completely different. But as far as me having to protect, I take that back. A woman I didn't even know. I'll share this story with you. So there was a woman I didn't even know, and it wasn't physical protection, but it was more so mental protection. So I used to work for First Data some time ago, and I remember just going across the street, went to the Walmart, was like, hey, I'm going to grab some lunch real quick, and I'm checking out, and then I noticed, I'm like, what is this woman talking about? So the lady who was checking this young lady out, she probably was in her late 20s, early 30s. She was basically saying, well, if you don't have enough money, then you can't get this, berating this young black woman. I'm just like, man, this ain't cool. Like, and then I see baby formula up there on the counter, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? And I'm trying to process it. So this young lady was like profusely crying, heartbroken. And then there was another lady that came over. She was chiming in, basically adding fuel to the fire. And both of these were employees at Walmart. So I ended up paying for everything that I had, and it was quick. And I quickly ran outside. I was like, man, where'd this lady go? So I went up to her. I said, hey, ma'am, I don't know you, but I seen what happened back there. I said, can you tell me, like, what's going on? She said, hey, I don't even need the grocery. I just need some money to feed my kids, like the formula. So I'm like, okay. I said, hey, come back in here with me. So I think I put my stuff in my truck, came back in there. I remember I seen the basket that she had. They didn't do anything with it yet. And I just see the two ladies, they were snickering. So I'm like, all right. I said, hey, ma'am, can you come here real quick? She was like, well, what's going on? I said, hey, that basket over there, can you bring that basket back over here? Well, why? I said, don't worry about it. Just bring it over here. So I said, ring that back up. So she's ringing it up. The young lady's like kind of standing there. And she was like, well, you didn't have them. I said, please don't talk to. I said, just ring this up. So she finally rang it up. I think it came up to like $100 or something like that. I said, I swiped my card and I said, can you bag this up? When I tell you both of those women were furious that this was happening, this lady was so appreciative. I didn't know her from a can of paint. I said, hey, listen, ma'am. I said, she said, how can I repay? I said, I don't need anything. Just pay it forward. I said, we as people have to be kind to each other. And I recognize that situation. So I said, she gave me a hug. She went about her way. I said, hey, where's the manager at? And I talked to the manager. I said, hey, you have two employees that were snickering. I gave them the situation. I said, you don't need my name, anything else. I want to bring this to your attention. And I just kept it moving. But that lady was so appreciative, and I knew she needed to feed her kids. So it was like I was in a position to do something, and in hopes of her at some point being in a position to do something. So back to your point, protecting someone, yeah, I protected somebody in a hostile environment. They weren't in physical danger, but from a mental perspective, her trying to feed her kids, that was something big that I wanted to do, and it was on the spot, and it was like, all right, cool, we did it, kept it moving. I didn't need any accolades. We just, it was what it was. But it just goes to show you, back to our original point, always be observant. If you see somebody in distress, whether it's from a mental perspective and you identify, because there's a lot of scams out here too, but I really knew that she was trying to feed her babies. She needed to get home, do whatever she needed to do, took care of business, and I just kept it moving. So I would say I didn't have to get into any physical altercations, but I de-escalated something, and hopefully it made her day, and she was able to get on and feed her kids.
Oh, that's dope, man. And this is why all these women in my inbox is about you. Who's your friend? Who's the co-host? Because you're just a good dude, man. That's a good thing. I'll share one story. I remember my first marriage. We were at a club supporting my homeboy that was a rapper. We were there supporting his little show. And it was me, my ex-wife, and my cousin. And, man, they just started banging. Like, all we know is just people swinging, people throwing every beat. And I told her to get down. She got down, and they were coming our way. I literally picked her up and ran off with her. And we crossed the street. We're leaving. And then the guy that got beat up is throwing up his hood. And the cousin that's with me at the time, you know, he represents a hood. So he like, no, this hood. No, this hood. And so they're going back and forth. And I'm telling my cousin, get in the car. I got my wife in the car. I got the door shut, so I know she's safe and protected. Now I got to make sure my cousin's good. I'm like, get in the car. And he's like, no, this hood. And then the guys' homies come up, and they're going back and forth yelling their sets. And, you know, I used to be a Christian rapper, so I don't know why this popped in my head, but they're like, this is this hood. And I'm like, this is gospel. they all looked at me and was like, oh, this dude crazy, and walked off. I was like, hey, man, so I just like telling that story because it's funny because I had the opportunity to be the husband that I wanted to be and protect my wife, protect my cousin, and de-escalate the situation. And I think women have to understand that that's what most men want to do. Right. You know, most men, I don't want to say use the term rescue, but we want to be there and be that shoulder. And we want our women to know that they can count on us in situations, good or bad, or no matter how bad it gets, that we're going to be there for them.
Right. And keep in mind, ladies, we're talking about men who have sound judgment, men who have a purpose in life. There are a lot of men out there who, they can care less. I mean, they just want to get off what they want to get off. They may fight a little bit just to make it seem as if like, oh, yeah, there's protection, but also it could be a mind game. So keep in mind that we're talking about guys who are really being intentional with these gifts that they're trying to give to their lady.
Well, and that's a great point that you bring up, that people need to understand, too, that protection isn't just rah, I'm about to shoot everybody, I'm about to fight. You know, to me, a protector's first role is to de-escalate the situation. Right. You know, if there's something going on, I remember one time I had an ex, and she was pregnant with my daughter. My ex-wife was pregnant with my daughter, and she called me. She was like, this guy at Walmart just cussed me out, and I was on my way. While I was in that car, and she was like, he had dreads, and he was this high. I walked through Walmart for hours looking for this guy. If a guy had dreads, I swear on my mother's grave, I was taking pictures. I was sending it to, is this the guy? No, that's not him. I was on Facebook looking up guys with dreads, and I'm like, was this the guy? No, that's not him. I was going to hurt this dude. Like, because you're not going to have my wife feeling intimidated or scared or anything like that, because, man, you a man. Man, I'll be driving, and my kids think I got road rage. I don't. But I'll get mad, and when I pull up and see it's a woman, I turn it off. And it's not because, you know, women are weaker and all this stuff. What it is that I don't want my wife, my daughter, my girlfriend to feel intimidated by a man, and now she's fearful because she's wondering what he might do to her. So if I pull up and I see it's a woman, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And I just keep driving. Like, I turn it off. But I was looking for this guy. I was going to find him. And then luckily I never found him. But what I had to remember was that to calm myself down, because if I did find him, I just wanted to have a conversation about it and not jump to the, oh, I got to fight him, I got to shoot him, I got to do this. And I think it's a good point that you made, that women, when you're looking for a man, because you need to vet men the same way we vet women, find a man that has a temperament that can de-escalate situations, and that also is a big part of protection. It's not always jumping to your aid to fight for you or fight on your behalf or defend your honor. Sometimes it's just being able to say, hey, babe, I got this, and talking man to man to the person or the situation, and being able to de-escalate that.
Right, and I think last subject I'll touch on is younger men, because it seems that, and it could probably happen with older men, but a lot of younger men from the ages of, like, let's say 18 to maybe 26, 27, you need to steer clear from women who want a quote-unquote bad boy and want to fight for their honor, because at the end of the day, they're putting you in a situation that maybe you are a good fighter, but nobody can outrun a gun or nobody can outfight a gun, and you have to be smarter on the choices that you make, because you can get a woman who is fine, but they just have this edge about them that you need to go out here and fight for my honor. Y'all constantly in the club, and maybe she's doing certain things and say, oh, well, he did X, Y, Z. Go take care of business.
You gonna let him talk to me like that?
You gonna let him talk to me like that? So it's just like, man. So that is also, you can't let a relationship get that far before you have a conversation. And if you're not having conversations at a young, like I said, 18 to 26, 27, you got to have these conversations with these women when you are vetting them out, when you're dating them. You got to kind of pick up on the vibe. You should know, like, oh man, she's spicy. She's always looking to fight, always looking to do this. Is this something that I really want? So that is another piece that we as men need to identify and observe and say, nah, I'm cool on that. Try to cut ties the best way that you can, and just keep it moving. Look for somebody who is not going to put you in a situation to trick off your life at the end of the day.
Facts. If she's messy and she's sending you on dummy missions and she's just all in drama, man, cut that loose. You know, I always say this all the time. When you're young, you spend your life, when it comes to women, trying to get a piece. When you're older, you're trying to get some peace.
Absolutely.
You just want some peace. So if you find a woman, you meet a woman that's always in a situation, always needs to be protected, something's always going on, man, cut her loose.
Right.
But that's it for today. We want to thank you for tuning in. Like always, man, we need people to like, share, subscribe. You know, we're trying to build our audience. So, you know, if you have somebody that you think can benefit from what we're talking about, man, please share this.
Absolutely. And we from both of us, we want to thank everybody for all the love and support that we've been getting. I know we've been getting a lot of inboxes, some emails here or there, phone calls. Please keep sending them our way. Share. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and it's some good knowledge that we're passing on to you. But until next time.
Hey, we'll talk to y'all later. And hey, before we go, let me say this. I don't mind y'all getting in my inbox for Brandon. So y'all can stay in the inbox. I'm a pass the information on to him. There's no hating this way. That's my brother.
I appreciate you.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
All right, peace.
Peace.